So here we are, episode 2 of our Little Pine series, Rot's Little Pine. From the first one, we made some cuts already, and now that we're in June, July, it's time to make some additional cuts.
Yes. And evaluate wiring. It is starting to grow. From the time we first took a lot of it off, it's growing aggressively now, and so we may have to reevaluate the wire too. So we'll see what Mr. Chase says about that.
而家我哋將下邊啲全部清咗唔要先。
Okay, he wants to get rid of all the ones on the bottom that
We talked
we
about
don't
that
need
你
it.
剪啦，等佢剪啦。嗱，
He
呢個
is
鉗，
going to. You can use that one.
Okay.
You want a different one, or that one's okay?
Oh, this one's good.
呢個腳呢啲都唔要。
All of it.
All of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I'm remembering correctly, we left it last time because we wanted to
Cut it.
not disrupt the energy of it, so
Correct.
that it would continue to grow and get bigger. So at that
Yeah.
time, we left it and
This
didn't
one?
do anything. So now that we have the new growth on there, we know that it's doing well. We are getting rid of all the useless branches that we don't need anymore and going from there.
啲磁線食晒入去嘅，拆翻佢先。
It's time to take the wire out. It looks like it's starting to bite into the branch.
全部走晒入裏邊。
It grew fast.
It did. I think that everything Mr. Che took off the last time sent energy everywhere else. We're going to take all the wire off, correct?
All of it, yes.
But it did it. It got a tremendous amount of growth.
全部剪晒。
It's important to pay attention to how fast your tree is growing, especially when you have wire in them. It's always hard to kind of gauge how fast things grow. So, always kind of keep an eye and get rid of the wires, when it starts, biting into your branches. And then you can always rewire again and reevaluate.
Yes, and this was a tremendous amount of growth in a very short period of time, because when he wired it, he didn't wire it very tight. So it was wired relatively gently and loosely, and it just grew right into the wires in just a couple of months. It was, I think, only 2 months ago that we started this.
I think so.
Yeah, so
嗱，食晒入去。
Yeah.
yeah, and that particular branch right there really grew.
And as I had mentioned earlier, we left some of the branches on the bottom because we didn't want to slow down the growth. So that may have really helped, for it to really burst out with the growth, right?
Right.
而家清嗰啲牙。嗱，而家我剪咗入嚟呢度。
So right now what we're doing is we're
Cut here.
decandling. That's it's called decandling, right?
Yes, decandling it.
We're gonna decandle and clean up a little bit too of the pines. 點解要清理佢？
你唔清佢，呢上面啲枝唔長啊嘛。
And this is to
大家
help
清佢咁樣。
promote more growth.
Yes, ramification.
呢度又剪呢度。
So
呢
same.
度嗱咁多支咧，我哋最多留2支。呢個 two，
幾多而家嗰度？
呢度5支、6
So
支。
right there, there's about 5 new growth coming out of one area. We don't need that many. So he is reducing it down to 2? 2. And then decandling the 2 that he's leaving there and cleaning up the pine
呢
along the
啲
way.
清飲啲唔得裏邊。你係食得又係幾
Ooh,
緊
that
要。
one. Wow, that's the growth on that one was very, very extreme.
Yes.
So that one was.
And again, because when I brought it the first time, there were so many branches. It was so congested that when we reduced it and got rid of a lot of those branches, it sent the energy up to these branches like the one that he's holding and this one that just got huge.
嗱，呢支咧太長啦，我而家要剪翻入去呢度。呢度原來要剪呢度，呢度太長呢個裂咧，呢個同呢個距離。
So
所以
that
我要
one
剪翻入
branch
嚟，
he's holding on to,
要 cut back。
he's going to cut it back because it's too long.
Yes.
It's way too long. And, with the new growth, it really, really,
嗱，呢度又係留
Popped
2
out.
支，
嗰度有幾多支而家？
呢度睇2、4、6支。
So in that one cluster, there's 6 new branches coming out,
And we
6
only
new
want
growth.
2.
We only want to keep 2 of those.
Yes.
So he's getting rid of that and cleaning it up. He 先食入去嗰度條枝嗰度，會唔會第時會好翻少少？
會好翻嘅。
好嚴重嗰度都會可以。
嗱，呢支又係剪翻入嚟呢度，要
That
cut
one?
back。
Hold on. So this
too
one,
long.
very, very long. So he is going to cut it back down
Yeah.
there. So we got rid of all of that.
And if you notice, the ones that he had put tape on before are the ones that you're seeing him eliminate now. So he already pre-marked those to be cut and decandled before. So he's sort of like working from the design that he already started the last time we worked on the tree.
呢度又留2支，
So that one, keep 2.
剪到呢個位置。
And then cut it all the way back in and get rid of that. So decandling that, keeping 2.
呢2支可以唔剪啊先，即係等佢壯啲、扯啲、粗啲又得。
So the 2 on the top, we can leave it the way it is and not touch it,
磨壁啦，
just so that we can help
呢
it
個呢個壁。
generate more growth and really pull that energy upwards. So when you cut it down, it kind of slows down the growth of it, the growth process, right? So
Yes.
if we go ahead and leave it the way it's going to get cut eventually,
Yes.
but if we leave it the way it is right now, it does help pull the energy up. So it helps to strengthen and thicken up the trunk of the tree as it goes.
Yes, and since this is going to be our apex one way or another in the long run, this is going to help make the apex thicker and healthier, and so now he can reapply wire and restyle it.
嗰啲繩剪到佢。 So we don't need those markers anymore. So he is going to go ahead and cut those strings off. And maybe we'll need new markers later. We'll see. 你可唔可以轉去前面俾我睇一睇? So just a quick look at what it looks like after our first round of wiring with the wires out, and then decandling. This is what we're looking at. And we are going to apply wire again, round 2.
Round 2. And we should remind everyone that this tree started as a seed that I brought back from the Japanese garden in Portland. And so it's very interesting to me to see its journey from that little seed and seedling through having Master of Penjing's hands on it and the bright future that it's going to have.
From a seed.
From a seed.
你而家都唔係箍佢太緊啫，係咪？都好鬆下，係咪？
Yeah.
So as he's wiring right now, he's not, doing it. He's doing it fairly loosely as well, anticipating the new growth that's going to happen. He's loosely, putting wire on it, just so that we can hold the shape, and there would be a little bit room for growth for that branch.
It's also quite interesting to note that it was basically like a ball. It was like a bush when I brought it to him the first time. And so now I can actually see his vision. I can see what the future of the tree is going to look like, and it's going to be very elegant composition. So I'm super excited about it.
I think I can always add in a picture of the tree too.
Yeah.
To kind of remind everybody what it looked like in the beginning.
So they could see what he started with, and now how his vision of the tree is shaping its future. And this, to me, this is the most important part of the art of Penjing or bonsai, or whichever craft you're working with. It's relatively easy to take a finished tree and style that tree or tune it up, but it's a much more complicated process to take a seedling or something from nursery stock and have a vision for positioning the branches correctly and building a bright future for it as a piece of art. And so it's very exciting to see my little seedling get positioned and turned into something that's going to be an elegant tree later.
I think he always says that the hardest part sometimes is making the selections for the branches of what to keep, what to get rid of, because that's what will later impact everything the most.
Absolutely.
But we're also very flexible too, because sometimes things don't always work out.
呢隻我唔要啦，
There's always plan B.
呢隻唔好要，
So 點解唔要啊？嗰時
嗰個位唔啱啊。
So I think at the time we had left that one branch because we weren't sure. We
你整咗
wanted
上嚟
to
就唔靚噶啦，要翻
see
呢
what it
個
looks like.
Yeah.
But now that we wired it and it didn't really go the way that he wanted. This is kind of plan B. We're gonna get rid of it and take it in a different direction
呢度
now.
唔要。
So we're gonna get rid of that branch. I like it. It kind of opens up everything.
I do too.
It kind of felt like it was a very awkward, like backwards reach.
Yes.
In a way.
變到個角度唔啱。
And what he's saying is the angle of that branch was not correct.
No, and it
唔好剪得太順，你話聽，唔係變
Not
到
too flat.
yeah, no, it's good.
變到嗰個框啦，變到冇嗰個角度。
Not too flat, so you want a little bit of that character, with a little bit of the you can see the turn.
所以呢啲西人佢就多數都係咁，即係剪到順咧，到時一生直咗。
Mm. Kind of going back to some of his theories on cutting is sometimes you don't want to cut too flush because it's going to pull upwards and it's going to straighten out and you're not going to be able to see
佢
the
變咗
angle.
錐㗎啦，變咗。
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
盡量唔好剪得咁平，等佢 hold 住佢，即係等佢停喺度，唔好喐。
I think sometimes we know what we want it to look like, so sometimes having a little nub there feels like it's incomplete, but sometimes it does serve a good purpose, which is to kind of hold that branch in place to create that turn and to create that angle. And I think it's good to remember that sometimes you can wait for the tree to mature a little bit more before you go back in later to remove it once you have established that hold in that little corner that you're trying to or that little turn that you're trying to hold. So we can always go back and make those changes later. I like this. This is turning out to be kind of fun, like the shape of it.
I like it a lot.
I see a lot of movement and flow in just the first time around, and getting rid of the branches that we did, and even in this wiring session and how we're shaping everything, there's definitely a lot more flow that's going into each of the branches.
And you can basically see the structure that he's creating instead of it just being a short bush, which is what it was. So I'm very excited about it. Ask him, I think it's important for people to understand. Ask him with this particular tree or other trees. I know there's always a concern about them getting too rigid for to create movement in them. Ask him like what's the optimal age of a tree when you have to really get it so you can manipulate it before it becomes too stiff. Like this one I know is kind of stiff. I maybe waited a little bit too long with this one. Ask him how old or far along in the process should a tree be in order to be able to manipulate it properly.
佢想問你啦，呢棵樹，係要等佢個時間係咩？邊個係最好嘅時間去咁樣喐動佢，等佢唔會太過硬。
最好咧，我哋講即係啲枝唔好太老，即係你大都唔怕，你最緊要啲支線夠力，啲 wire 咁粗都得。你睇佢個距離要長咪要短，如果佢哋枝要長嘅咧，粗啲都可以攤啊嘛，依啲都可以攤。
係有冇時間限定？
冇，最好就而家最好啦。而家你挖完之後，
即係幾年棵樹要幾大歲數？
如果嗰啲叻嗰啲人咧，幾粗都唔怕。
So if you are good at what you do, right? If you're skilled, someone who is skilled doesn't have to be too concerned about the age of the tree to manipulate it to make those kind of changes. A lot of times, we say like when it gets hard, when the branch gets hard, it gets a little bit harder to turn. It really depends on how long the branch is, because you can always try to find some flexibility in the branches and what you're trying to do to it. So in a way, what he's saying is that if you're skilled in doing this, you don't have to be too concerned about how old it is. You can take an old tree and still be able to, little by little, change the shape of it. But of course, for something like this, younger tree is good because it is flexible. So don't wait too long, and just kind of have a plan.
So if it's an older tree and you wanted to make some really dramatic changes, would he do branch splitting to manipulate it?
如果係啲老樹啦，如果你係想即係轉角啊，或者等佢好似整到佢唔同方向啊咁樣咧，你會唔會係
要咬拆佢？
即係揾嗰個嘢整爆佢，跟住再擰？
再揾啲膠布嗰啲膠布黏住佢，再攤啊
！What you were saying, he would, kind of like split the branches, and then apply some sort of almost kind of like a bandage to it, right?
A wrap, yes.
A wrap around it, and then as you're turning it. And
但係有啲人而家咧，直情用鋸個口啊，將佢 band 住鋸到佢，一路揩一路鋸，一路揩鋸佢咪話，原來你條枝咁樣啊嘛，你拉低佢，鋸到佢之後越鋸越低，鋸到可以 balance。
係時間係咪？
鋸一路鋸到啱為止，就唔好鋸斷佢，留翻1/3。
即係咪你係鋸少少包住佢，跟住再鋸再包？
嗱，你揩佢啊嘛，你一路咁嗱，當然呢度知，我要鋸呢度。
係新嘅方法係咪啊？
以前大陸都有，但係呢度啲老番一樣係學，即係互相 copy 啫嘛。
So there is a method of doing it, for
China
older
都有
trees
㗎，
too. He's done it before in the past. I don't think they use it a whole lot. I don't think it's been used a lot or applied a lot, but the idea and the method is not a new one. And how they would do that is they would saw.
Right, to slits in there,
and
then pull the tree.
Not slits, but they would just.
Same here.
For example, he's not going to cut your tree.
一路鋸一路揩佢。
So you're going to keep sawing.
Keep the saw.
And then you're going to keep pulling it down.
佢有個空位啊嘛，再拉翻平，再鋸，拉翻低，再鋸，即係個刀口啦，我哋叫。
So 差唔多好似個切蛋糕咁樣。
你唔係咁切，如果你係咁鋸，跟一個方向鋸。嗱，你跟住鋸咗之後，佢咪有條呢個鋸嗰條拉嘅。
不過佢個距離唔係太大啫，係咪？
咁你咪再拉低佢，又跟住 double。One more time。
係響上邊啊，還是
響呢個嗱？你要拉呢個角度，嗱呢個呔響呢度。咁你咪鋸呢度啦。鋸一路拉一路鋸，一路拉一路鋸。
OK。
咁佢原來有個距離噶嘛？你把鋸得咪有個距離？
係。
咁你再拉低佢，咪變到原來咁。
不過如果你再要拉低
咧，再鋸到佢咪有一個口啦。再揩
響個口嗰度再鋸。
係啦，double 咁鋸佢。
OK。
咁啊 perfect 啦。
Okay, so the way he was explaining it is that, you would use a saw and on the trunk of the tree, do not saw all the way through.
Right.
You're basically sawing on the trunk to make a cut in there. And basically the thickness of your saw as you're cutting into the trunk creates a gap.
Right.
And that gap can be pulled downwards to kind of create that turn, instead of pulling it with wire. That is one way to kind of create, that pull, pulling that branch down.
Sure.
Now that you close the gap from your very first time sawing into it, you pulled it down and you close that gap that there already. And if it needs to go down further more, you take your saw and once again, you can go back into the same area that you were sawing before and saw again, now creating an extra room in between where the saw is going through, and then from there you're pulling down again. So you just keep sawing until you have the angle that you want.
Yes. And so ask him this. Would he then wrap that area and seal it with something, or would he just use wire to pull it?
包住。
你整好晒先包，你鋸好晒先再用嗰啲膠布包得。
不過如果你係揾咩拉低佢，
你用鐵線啊嘛。
係咪好似你條繩咁樣綁住咁樣拉
綁住
法咧
tie落嚟。
？So almost like the tie down method, in theory, you're using an anchor to hold that branch down that you just sawed into. So once you get to the point where you're like, this is the correct angle, this is where I want it, you'll have your tie down, your anchor, your tie down that's holding it down. Then you can wrap it and seal that cut, that saw cut.
And then
for it to
ask him
heal.
from the time you do that, how long does it take for it to heal together?
幾時個傷口會
可能
好返？
一年到就得㗎啦，1 year。
Maybe a year.
Okay.
係乜嘢叫邊都係最？你係切佢一半係唔可以超過？What can you not
乘翻
extend
三分
past？
一，
三分一都可以，
乘翻三分一。
剩翻三分一都好多噶咯喎。
係啊，所以我哋大陸以前都係試過，但係咧棵樹咧嗰個將來咧一老化咧就 dead 㗎啦。
So the risk in doing that, so I did ask the question of like, if you're going to be sawing into it, right? How much is too much to saw into, right? Is it halfway? Is it a quarter? Can you only do a quarter? Can you do halfway? He said, you can leave 1/3. So you can saw 2/3 into that trunk and still be able to have it heal and for it to, continue to grow. Now, the drawback to that is there's a drawback is that as your tree is aging, because now you kind of cut the core of the tree and you cut into it to achieve what you're trying to do, and it looks great and all, but as it's aging and getting older and older in age, the chances of it dying off is a lot higher now because
Right.
you did that.
Right, right.
所以咧，如果你鋸咧，就依啲遠咧唔好剪佢。點解咧？佢等佢嗰個啲樹壯啲。如果你剪晒啲咧，你一鋸到佢咧，佢成棵樹就 down 啦嘛，即係冇個樹弱咗。
So, and then another thing to consider too, if you're going to try to use that method too, is that don't cut any of your branches that's, on top, because you need to have them in order for it to kind of pull the energy up so that it can heal faster
等佢啲 skin 容
and
易
so that
濕
it could
啲。
heal properly. Now, if you cut everything down and then decide, oh, I'm going to try to do this method of sawing it and pulling it down, you now put it in the greater risk of it dying off because you already cut off the ends to the top. So you already cut off and stopped the energy from going up already. And then now you're cutting into the trunk, and that will definitely put it at a higher risk of not surviving.
Right.
So if you really want to consider trying that method, do not cut anything on top. Leave it until it heals. So then that way it has, the tree has what it needs and the ability for the energy to continue going.
上一次我同阿 Patrick 咧咁粗都得，但係諗住我哋試驗啊嘛。如果依度咁樣tie落嚟唔得咧，就外翻下邊嗰條枝。但係我慳好多嘛，我要利用翻上面啲節咧，棵樹靚啲啊嘛。
所以如果唔得咧，就全部剪咗佢啦。
鋸咗佢就外翻下邊嗰條。
So another way to kind of look at this too as an
要有兩
experiment,
個構思啦。
right? You can look at it as an experiment if you want to try this method is come up with an alternate design, right? If your original design is if I pull this branch down and it'll look great, plan B is even if this one branch is not there anymore, it can still look great. It'll just be a little bit different.
Right.
So you can sacrifice that branch and you're not putting all your hopes and dreams into that one branch that may
Right.
die.
Right, right.
So-
So in other words, be careful what you
Yeah.
are selecting because you may have to have an alternate look for the tree.
Right.
And the reason I wanted him to address that question is because we all go on YouTube and we all watch, all the supposed experts do their thing. And so I've seen a lot of videos where they do cut and then pull the tree and wrap it with either burlap or, some other some other material, and then, in theory, they show the tree much later on where it has mended. But I completely understand what he's saying, and that is, whenever you're going to cut a main part of a tree, it's a big risk.
Right.
And even if it ends up working out great for you in the end, there's still something that could trigger the tree to make that part of it die off. So I think the moral to the story is, do it cautiously, and do it only if it's something that you think is extremely necessary to get the design you're trying to get.
Right, because potentially it might not be harmful to the tree itself at the stage as you're training it, planning it, making it beautiful, but at some stage of that tree's life, it is going to have an impact. So
Yes.
as it's, a really, really old tree, kind of like old scars, right? In people, it's going to resurface in a way where it's going to kind of fester and make something from the inside, like that scar is going to make it, maybe not be as healthy, and then you'll see a decline in it because you did it, that many years ago.
Right.
So it's a potential. Of course, you may not have it. You may have passed it on to somebody else.
Sure.
Or it's outlive you, who knows, right? But there's always going to be that potential. So not to, just to kind of consider it and just have it, just know that is a thing.
所以我哋講咧，逢親 design 樹咧，有幾個計劃。number one、number two、number three decide， 即係到時呢條枝唔得，我哋應該要點樣轉 number two、number three
Always have
咁樣
a
咧。
contingency plan.
Right.
Not just one. You should have a
Sometimes two or
few.
three. Right.
我哋一睇棵樹，我哋要知道要有幾個 choice 可以改變，即係咁意思啦。
Always have a contingency plan. So, not that we're going to be trying to solve this right now, or maybe not even later, but
Right.
just because we were on the topic of what are different methods to achieve really pulling this branch down, versus using wire and like other methods, right? That is one method that's in use, that's out there.
Sure. I mean, for me personally, I'm sort of a chicken, and if I wanted to change a position of a tree or something like that, I would probably try to repot it to something favorable for me, because like with this now, I'm going on year 8, and I'm quite attached to it, and so making a cut in it would probably not make me feel very comfortable or happy. Maybe if I bought a tree that I didn't care about and I was just trying to learn to do it, I would buy a junk tree and come over here and have Mr. Che teach me how to do it. But with something like this, that's my baby that I grew from a little tiny seed. I don't think I would be doing that.
因為我知嗱，第日呢個頂咧咪即係咁啦。呢個第日喺度開翻幾個頂啊嘛。嗱，第日嗰度 cut 到之後咧，呢度再出翻一支兩支，咪即係喺度 balance 翻。
你可唔可以放喺後邊啊？我前面睇唔到。I'm gonna have him to show what he thinks it's gonna look like.
你
or what we're
逢親
the
你
concept of his design as we're waiting for it to grow out. He's
我哋講話
thinking,
你種樹咧，你好似起屋咁，笪地將來點樣，到最後點樣，你全部喺晒個腦度，
so like
即係
building a
make a
house.
house 一樣。
Building a house, you have your foundation now, so you maybe have like one set of drywalls in, but
Right,
you don't
right.
have the complete layout put in yet. So now it's like onto the second sketch of your plans for your layout,
即係將來呢度，
right?
Yes.
即係咁。
So, as we wait for it to ramify, we
但
want
係
there
呢
to
度
be
粗啲咧，
more
我就剪喺
branches.
呢度 cut off 嘅，呢度咪爆橫枝出嚟。
So once this branch gets a little bit thicker,
Right.
you're
We'll
gonna
eliminate that.
Yeah.
cut
Right.
that out,
Yeah.
呢度 1, 2, 3
and then
咁
you're gonna
啱
wait
啦
for it to ramify. So then now
Yeah.
you have more
Yeah,
growth.
no, it's the more work that he does to it, and the more I can see the structure of it, the easier it is for me to see his vision.
下邊嗰條
呢
咧。
度一樣啫嘛。
So same with that one, right? Because it
Yes.
looks a little
呢
funky
度
right
呢
now.
度就唔要 7 Hz 啦，呢度 double 2 啦。
Yeah. So if you cover, hold on, let me grab a.
2 啦，係咪？
Yes.
So if you want to kind of cover that big branch, right? 你遮住嗰條先，你拎開that back one right there.
Oh,
like,
this one?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna cover that, right? Because that's gonna eventually go away,
Right,
and
and
because we're
it's gonna be
cutting
that.
it,
Right.
so it's really gonna look a little bit more like what he's put up there
Right.
once it ramifies, and split off.
Yes.
God.
So right now it looks a little funky because looking at this, you're like, what is this? And why?
Well, that's the interesting thing about when you're working in Penjing or bonsai is that you have to be able to look down the road and see what kind of a future you're trying to plan for the tree. And so the first time I brought it, when it was just a big bush, I really didn't have any idea what the right decisions were. And then when we fixed all of that to start out with, now I can really see what the future plan of the tree is, which is exciting. So.
And I like the placement of where all the paths are going to be too.
I do too.
I really like the flow of everything.
Yeah. And I love this curve. There's something very magical, and it's for something that I really didn't know what I was going to do with it when I first planted it. It's starting to get some really nice structure.
因為而家你咁樣望落去，因為你自己知道，你個心
我自己知道
知
點啊
道
嘛。嗱，即係好
望落去好似好怪咁啊，係咪先？
將來咧就唔會怪。
Right. So right now it looks really funky, but because you're planning it and you're designing it, you know what's eventually going to go away. But sometimes your eye can't unsee what's in front of you
Right.
to see past that design. So I think it's helpful when he tries to, pick up the little branches to kind of show everybody,
Yes.
like this is what it's going to be later on, and not this, these two little bushels of pines just sticking out right now in this weird angle and position, right?
Yeah.
即係最簡單。嗱，我喺公園度做工咧，有一個係 lawyer 嚟㗎，好叻嘅 lawyer。佢問我，佢
Story
話
time.
佢話咧，你係咪一路行一路睇啲樹應該點樣 design？ 我梗係啦。我話你 lawyer 一樣，你一路行一路咧，睇下邊度有景轟咧，你又去叉住，冚平，即係可以攞錢。佢笑緊度，一路行一路笑，個老翻嚟嘅。
So story time is, going back, talking about, being at work.
一路行一路睇邊度可以叉住人哋嗰啲。
So going back to, being at work. So Dad works at the Huntington Library in the Chinese Garden. And, one of the regulars that usually comes in, who happens to be a lawyer, asks him the question, hey, as you're walking through the gardens, are you looking at every single one of the trees here? And just kind of thinking about, designs for, what it would look like? Are you trying to see past what it looks like now and see what you can do later on and have new designs to it? And Dad says, well, yeah, of course, because, don't you do the same? You as a lawyer, are you not walking the park looking at all the potential hazards?
Right. Right.
So that you can go back in
Right.
and go, hey, this could be a trip hazard, this could be this could be that, this is all potential, liability.
Right.
So he's looking at design, you're looking at liability as you're walking the gardens.
Right. Right.
So it's the same concept in a way, right? So that's the joke between an artist and a lawyer, maybe, right?
Exactly.
Hey, Nico.
嗰個 lawyer 笑喺度走。
So the lawyer, it's the lawyer, when Dad said that to him, the lawyer kind of smiled and didn't acknowledge, didn't say anything. He just kind of smiled and just kind of walked off.
Yeah.
呢啲叫 professional job 啊嘛。
This is what professionalism.
Yes, exactly.
We're all professionals.
Exactly. All right, thanks, Mr. Che.
All right, so this is what we look. This is what it looks like now.